Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jay Zawaski. Greg Boysen's got the day off, so it's Mario Tirabassi and me, and we've got a very special guest. Short notice. I hit him up last night after the game, after Hossa night, which is a night we'll all remember. It is Blackhawks play-by-play man, Chris Vosters. Chris, thanks for taking time out, man. I know it's been a busy run for you here, so thanks for jumping on.
My pleasure. Good to be with you, but I got to say, I wouldn't have agreed to do this if I'd known Greg Boysen would have had the day off, but
ouch.
Yeah, well, he insisted on, when he found out you were coming on, he said, screw that.
Yeah, right. That's why he took the day off. Yeah, exactly.
No, he is. It is his lovely girlfriend Stacy's birthday, so he surprised her with a day off today. So, well earned. Greg works hard. We all do. So it's not too hard because our job is very, very fun, as you know, and you relate to, Chris. And again, thanks for being with us. And I just want to talk about last night. First and foremost, you got to run the panel with Keith and Seabrook and Jalmerson and Sharp. I can't imagine if I was in your shoes, how nervous and terrified I would have been because those guys, a couple of them are famously a bit salty and a bit standoffish, but I think you knocked it out of the park. How was that? What was that experience like for you?
Well, it's been a season of firsts for me, as you guys know, but I continue to be just amazed by the rock star presence that members of especially all three Stanley Cup championship teams of that 6-year span continued to hold. I mean, it was amazing, frankly, being in the atrium and seeing it wall to wall packed. About an hour before the ceremony even began, they had to close off entrance into the atrium because they had reached capacity. And I said this when I introduced the Fab Four on stage. It was like I was introducing the Beatles. I mean, just the reaction was crazy. And it, I don't think though I had time to get nervous because it was just, I was there waiting for when they showed up. And then it was pretty much, things were on such a tight timeline that it was like they showed up and I got the cue to go on stage. And I basically met those guys when I called them up and asked them their first question. I made a point of tracking down, especially Nicholas, Brent, and Duncan afterwards to just introduce myself formally. But I think it's good to have Patrick Sharp on my side. I think he did a good job softening those guys up before I talked to them on the panel.
Yeah, that certainly doesn't hurt. But they knew it was going to be, all seashells and balloons, and everybody would be really happy to see them, and they were. And I was talking about this last night with Mario. I was so happy to see Brent Seabrook get the pop that he got because, the last few years for him were tough. He had started the natural decline that anybody who plays as hard and as long as Brent Seabrook plays would have. And some of the fans started to sour a little bit, but it's so good to see those guys getting their recognition. And Hossa said it, like, I know I'm going to be back here soon for another one. So it was very, very cool. And I think he did a great job. So under difficult circumstances, both, with the people you're speaking to and the atmosphere and the setup, it was just kind of a tough recipe. I think you nailed it. So good job.
Thank you. I mean, it was a ton of fun. I didn't see it as a burden. It didn't add any stress to my day or anything like that. I just thought it was really cool. And that's one of the things that I enjoyed the most about this last year has been meeting the legends of of the Blackhawks, those that are still with us. And so again, learning about just how deep the relationship is between Blackhawks fans and those 3 Stanley Cup teams. And then you had all 7 guys who were on all 3 teams there under one roof. I thought that was pretty special. And I was really glad to just be an eyewitness to that as much as anything else.
Yeah. I mean, getting those guys all together is pretty incredible. Since they've all kind of taken their ways away from the team and away from hockey, it was pretty impressive. Who of those guys? I know you've had some time to get to know Patrick Sharp a little bit. Who of those guys were you, I guess, maybe a little bit most excited or maybe nervous for to kind of like introduce yourself and have a little bit of interaction with?
Well, I think all of them for different reasons, in a sense. I mean, you heard Marián Hossa say what a presence Brent Seabrook was in the locker room. The guy that really had the pulse of the team and then sort of conveyed to the outside world in a lot of cases what was going on in the locker room, kind of where guys' heads were at as a team. So, and you could feel his presence from the minute that he walked up on the stage. Duncan Keith, again, I think Eddie Olczyk said it best during the ceremony, the greatest Blackhawks defenseman ever. I mean, the guy's going to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame for sure. And it was really cool how down to earth Duncan Keith was to me. I mean, after the panel ended, we walked off stage eventually. I mean, Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook almost had to be dragged off stage because they were signing so many autographs. But even as he was signing autographs in the hallway leading away from the atrium, Duncan Keith was having a conversation with me, just asking where I was from, how long I'd been in Chicago. He and Seabrook both asked how excited I was to have the job and if I was having fun, which I really appreciated them even asking that. And then I was having a conversation with Colby Cohen about this actually in the broadcast booth while we were watching the ceremony. I mean, the reception that Nicholas Hjalmarsson gets as a defensive-minded defenseman. I mean, those, he doesn't have the sexy stats or anything like that, but I think it's, again, just a tribute to how devoted Blackhawks fans are to care deeply about a guy who had such an unglamorous role. I mean, he was there to block shots and do the dirty work in a lot of cases. So all 3 of the guys I thought were super down to earth. That there was a lot that was being asked of them, and I should say 4 with Patrick too, of course. But there's a lot being asked of them yesterday. They went through the proverbial ringer when it came to interviews and appearances and pictures and things like that. And I thought they all did a great job.
Well, they're used to it. They've gone through a few Blackhawks conventions before.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned that presence from Seabrook, and I go back to Jonathan Toews' 1,000th game when Hossa hit the ice, and everybody went crazy for Hossa, right? And Seabrook got it. And you're right about Hjalmarsson. Like, that is, I know every city's like, my city likes guys that work hard. I don't know the city that's like, we're pretty boys who don't get dirty. Like, every city says that, but truly in Chicago, there is a recognition for people like Nicholas Hjalmarsson who just go about their business quietly, take a beating, give a beating, all those sort of things, and don't want the recognition. And so many times this week, Marián Hossa used the word unsung about Nicholas Hjalmarsson, but guess what? It's kind of sung. Hawks fans know about Nicholas Hjalmarsson, right? And they respect him and they love him. And, we've got months and months and years to discuss, who might be going up there with Marián Hossa. But when you hear a response like that for Nicholas Hjalmarsson, your mind starts to wonder about him too. There's the obvious Kane and Toews and Keith and Seabrook, and then there's those periphery guys, and he might be one of them. I don't know. I just don't know what the criteria is. I don't know if Danny and Jamie know right now who they're all going to be, but I just love that the host is like, I'm going to be back many, many times here in the coming years. It's just a great night. And I wrote about it for my Blackhawks beat, which drops tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Just how special these things are because they're so rare, and I'm glad you got to be a significant part of it. And I kind of want to move on to like the next sort of topic here is, now that you are in the job full time, not quite a quarter way through the season, but almost. How are you feeling? Are you feeling like you're finding your place? You're finding your voice?
I think so. I think it happens more and more game by game. It's just a process, and I'm just trying to have patience when it comes to learning the game, learning the league as much as anything else. I think the one thing that I want everyone to know first and foremost is just how much fun that I'm having, how much I enjoy being around the team, the players, the coaches, the Blackhawks front office personnel. I love working with Troy Murray and Patrick Sharp and Colby Cohen, and I love our friends on the radio side as well, John Weideman and Kaylee Chelios. It's really been great working with the other broadcasters too. So it's been a ton of fun. I mean, I'm amazed at the speed and the skill in the NHL. Especially like we were in Boston on Saturday night, and man, just seeing how those guys move the puck around close to the net. I mean, it's a sight to behold. So I think as far as what I'm working on now, it's just catching up with the speed of the game, keeping pace with the speed of the game, and really being on those pinpoint passes that you really see close to the net, those bang bang plays. Just trying to stay on top of that action and learn, the moments when I can open things up a little bit and bring in Troy, Patrick, or Colby, get some of our personalities out on the air a little bit too. Just learning to read those lulls in the game when you can sort of back away from the play-by-play, the strict play-by-play, and have a little fun on the broadcast as well. So it's a blast though. It's a ton of fun. And I was a little bit surprised myself when I realized that we're not even officially to the second quarter of the season yet. So it's been a lot of fun going through the league for the first time. I mean, calling Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin for the Pittsburgh game was amazing. And I never get tired of seeing Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves handle the puck either. So it's been a lot of fun. I've gotten so much support and so much help from everybody. It's really, really humbling. And, I'm just really pumped to keep going through the season.
You were obviously different circumstances, but you were part of a rotation last year, and now on the other side, you're kind of a part of you're experiencing another rotation this year. How has it been switching back and forth in games between Troy Murray and Patrick Sharp?
That's a good question. I think, fortunately, being a freelance broadcaster before I got the Blackhawks job full time, I am used to just being like, all right, who am I working with tonight? So I think that it's nothing that I haven't handled before. Both Troy and Patrick are great guys and Blackhawks legends, and it's really, really cool to just sit and talk with them and hear their stories and hear their perspective on the game. They both are really funny off the air. They both have great senses of humor. They both played they each played in different generations. So their take on the game and the things that they sort of emphasize is a little bit different. Troy Murray has got his note sheet in front of him that he prepares for every game. And, he tracks things like face-off percentages and he, really has a great understanding of, recent trends, power play trends, penalty kill trends, and things like that. Whereas Patrick Sharp is able to really, I think he does a great job just breaking down why things happen. I think he's really good on the telestrator and talking through replays and things like that too. So both guys are really, really good. We're all in this together. I think we're all trying to get better as hockey broadcasters. And then when you bring Colby Cohen in with his between the benches perspectives too, that's another wrinkle that makes it different than just working with Troy or just working with Patrick. It's okay. How do we integrate this third voice and not step on each other's toes and stay in our lane? So again, it's really like anything else. The way you, I think, figure it out the best is to just do it through repetition. And fortunately, it's an 82 game season, and we've got a lot of hockey still to call in front of us.
Pat Foley was in the building last night, and I wonder what your relationship is or was like with him as he was sort of leaving and you were jumping into his spot. Has he been helpful? Has he been a mentor at all, or is he just kind of what we all imagine Pat Foley would be like? I'm retired. see ya. I'll be back when I'm back. And, what's that been like? Is there any relationship there at all?
He was phenomenal to me, especially during the audition process, if you will. We talked on the phone before my first ever game with the Blackhawks, and he gave me some really meaningful advice. He just said, hey, be yourself. Don't let my ghost, if you will, this is not a verbatim quote, but he said, don't let my presence just kind of hang around in the booth. Like, that's your booth. Call your game. Don't think about me at all. And I mean, I really appreciated him saying that, because it's hard not to think about him because of again, the relationship that he has with Blackhawks fans and the fact that he was in that seat for 39 years. As last season wore on, I had the chance to grab lunch with him and really pick his brain on how he prepares for games and get some more, I guess, extended or in-depth advice from him on how to approach the position specifically. Since the season began, I know I texted him before he did his Chicago Cubs play-by-play appearance over the summer. I have been trying to just give him some space. I know that he's been around the team a good bit. I know that he was in San Jose at the start of the season for Doug Wilson's ceremony in San Jose. I know he and Doug have a very close relationship. I haven't wanted to bother him though, or anything like that. I do care very deeply for him, and want to have a relationship. I have nothing but the most respect for the career that he's had and the job that he did as the Blackhawks play-by-play announcer. But I guess, to start the season, I've just been pretty tunnel visioned into just getting my pregame routine down, calling these games, learning the league. So I haven't been, I guess, overly communicative with Pat since the season began, but I know he's around, and I definitely will reach out to him again at some point.
So I'm interested. You mentioned a couple times, like, learning the league. How are you doing it? Like, what sort of steps are you taking to learn about the upcoming opponents? Like, is it watching highlights every night? Is it playing video games? Like, how are you learning the league? Like, a lot of announcers say that, but never really dive into it. So I'm interested. What's your process?
So when I was a kid, I was definitely the guy that announced his video games. I mean, I was big into the backyard sports. I announced my Madden NFL video games.
Yeah, I tried to turn into Pat Foley.
What's that?
I always tried to do it with the NHL games, but then it just turned into a Pat Foley impression. I gave up that dream very quickly. That's all I knew.
Well, I've given up my dream to be a professional gamer in any way. I haven't really done a whole lot of gaming, period, since I graduated from college. But before I hopped on with you guys, I was just sitting in my living room watching the Dallas Stars last game against the New York Islanders, and that's been a big part for me, watching each upcoming opponent's last game. And I know the Stars play again tonight too, so it's kind of a luxury right now, this window that we have, where you've got 2 days off before your next game, because when you do like what's really hard are the back-to-backs, man. Like when we had Boston, Pittsburgh over the weekend, and it's like game ends and I'm still in the arena in Boston, down in the media room, waiting for everybody to clear out of the locker room and get on the bus. And I'm taking a look at Pittsburgh's lines, and I'm following the third period of their ongoing game against Winnipeg. So the quick turnarounds are, I'll be honest, what I'm still trying to master. And, it's not the top two lines or the top two D pairs necessarily that is the biggest challenge. It's knowing the checking lines and the third D pair, and being ready for the 10 minutes of ice time that those guys are going to get. But you've got to know their names when they come on the ice, and especially because they're not necessarily taking regular shifts. They're not on the ice as much as Kane and Taves or Crosby and Malkin or something like that. So you've got to just always be, even during the game, I'm learning, kind of quizzing yourself. Like before every face-off, I'm just doing a quick count. Okay, who's on the ice? Yeah, okay, got that down. And while still trying to listen to my producer and my broadcast partner. So I guess as far as the pregame prep goes, I mean, it's really just basic name and number memorization for me. There is so much information out there about the stories behind these guys, and we spend time talking to the coaches and the other broadcasters before every game, where you kind of get the nuggets that you can sprinkle in. Learning, for example, that Sidney Crosby had never scored a goal at the United Center before last night. Got that by talking to Pittsburgh's broadcaster before the game. So, but as far as what I'm really, really focused on right now is just who's got the puck and who's going to get the next pass. And so it's really just names and numbers. I write it down by hand and just quiz myself like you're studying for a multiplication test or a spelling test in school. I mean, I basically make flashcards, and in addition to watching as much tape as I can, previous games, the condensed games that you can watch on NHL.com sometimes when I'm in a time crunch. But, as a play-by-play guy, you got to love that part of it as much as calling the game. You got to love the preparation. And I really do. It's been a ton of fun. Just, all right, who's going off for the Dallas Stars? Yeah, that Jason Robertson line is really cooking right now. Jake Ottinger is a beast in net. So it's been a lot of fun just putting those pieces together.
Well, speaking of names and numbers, there has been quite the saga this season with
this is why we're really getting you on, Chris.
A certain Blackhawks goalie
who was not supposed to play a whole lot.
With
the big team this year. Yeah, no, and okay, so we're talking about. You want me to say his last name?
Arvid.
We're talking about Arvid Soderblom.
Okay.
Of course, prospect for the Blackhawks. He's got a very bright future. I guess I want to apologize just for how inconsistent it's been with the pronunciation.
Hold on, Chris.
Before you apologize, you do not need to apologize. Everyone is confused about it. It's not because of you. It's not you. It's just been a funny thing that we were talking to Colby before practice one day, and he's like, I don't know. I even asked him, and he answered, and I still wasn't sure what the answer was. So don't apologize. It's not you. We're a team trying to come together on a consensus here. That's all.
We have all heard him say it at least two different ways, and in the pronunciation guide, it is also a third different way. So it's all over the board.
Yeah. And so we're trying, we're among the Blackhawks broadcasters, we are drilling this down really as we speak. But Jay, actually, just before we went on, I texted you a video that I took for audio purposes from the Blackhawks locker room. It's me asking Arvid how to say his name.
Oh, I just got it.
Please
I do not move on.
Please verify it at some point if you want. I don't know if you want to listen to it now or after the show, whatever works for you. But to me, it sounds like he is saying Söderblom. So if you look at the first three letters of his name, S-O-D, I think like sod as in turf or dirt. Mm-hmm. It's as opposed to a Söderblom with a long O.
Okay. I just sent it to our producer. Now this is as a former producer myself, I'd be furious at a host for doing this to me. It's Steven who is producing the show. I'm uploading it in Slack right now, so I don't know if we can turn it around in time or not, but we'll try. But okay, so Söderblom.
Söderblom, yes. Now I think I can. Funny enough, my Blackhawks producer is giving me a call now. I'll have to call him back, but I don't think it's about Arvid's last name. But here's why I think there's been so much confusion. I think it is frankly difficult for English speakers to say his name. He is Swedish, and just the way that Swedish people talk, it makes it difficult for English speakers to approximate a true Swedish accent. And I mean, that works for any foreign language, really. It's the same situation. I think that so many people have asked Arvid about it that in an effort to make it easier on English speakers and to really Americanize his own name, he has also at times said Söderblom.
Okay.
But when he says it the way he would say it, as if he were talking to someone in Sweden, it sounds to me like he's saying Söderblom.
Okay. Well, look, I am definitely on board with the player from wherever they're from, European country, whatever it is, the pronunciation that they want, that they would say to their friend, their parent, whatever. Like, if that's what it is, I am all for saying it in that way. I don't think that they necessarily need to be like, oh, okay, well, let me take the accent out and say it like an American. Like let's give them their pronunciation. That's the least that they can do for flying overseas to play professionally in a country that's not theirs, not their home,
Well, we were talking to Hossa the other day. He said, we've all said Nicholas Hjalmarsson forever, but he said like Hjalmarsson or something.
It was like Hjalmarsson.
Hjalmarsson, and I'm sure he is saying it correctly.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Yeah, it's tough, and I feel bad for these guys because you're right. There probably is no direct perfect translation. It's probably a sound that doesn't exist in the English language. So he's trying to do the best he can, but you don't want a guy conceding and just saying like, "Fine, my name is Soderblom," just to make it easier on everybody. No, don't do that. Screw us. Like, tell us what your name is. And, we'll get it. We'll figure it out eventually. If we can do Krivo Krasov, we can certainly do Soderblom.
Right.
And I think, so what I've learned by my interactions with Arvid is that he is a very, very nice guy. And I think he's somewhat bemused by just how difficult it's been for English speakers to say his last name. So I think he's trying to, I really don't think he is that particular about it. Not because of indifference, but I think he's trying to be accommodating. But you're right. Like it gets to a point, Jay, where you got to just drill it down and say it one way. And to me, I think Söderblom is the most authentic way that I can say it. I talked to him in depth about this, and he said that it's not quite as it's not quite a bloom like we would say in English, where you're really stretching out those two O's. If he said if you can kind of like shorten the bloom to more of a quick bloom, almost like you're saying it like 1 O and a half or something like that. We're getting into the weeds now.
Really?
I understand.
That's what Kobe says. He's like, Kobe says, well, it's not really bloom. It's more like bloom. I'm like, oh, that's perfectly clear, Kobe. Thank you.
I mean, I think though, if you say Söderblom, I think you're A-okay. If you say Söderblom, I think Arvid would be fine with that. But I think that the best approximation that an English speaker can come to saying it like a Swede is Söderblom.
I listened to it off my phone, and you're right, Chris. I'm getting the same. I'm hearing the same thing.
Well, I appreciate that. I've got one other thing that this is just I tweeted at you guys like we could have an entire podcast episode about how to say his last name, and I was serious because it goes back a long ways now to the first home game of the season against the Detroit Red Wings. Of course, Arvid's brother Elmer plays for the Red Wings, and so we're down again in the bowels of the United Center. And at this point, remember, Arvid's not playing for the Blackhawks.
Right. Yep.
So we're talking to Ken Daniels, the longtime television announcer for the Detroit Red Wings, and he's got on his phone Elmer saying his last name. And I'm not going to say how Elmer said the family last name because it's just going to make it even more confusing, but it was very different than the way that Arvid said his last name to me. And I brought that up to Arvid as well. And he said, look, he went as far as to say, I don't agree with how my brother is saying our last name. So
family turmoil.
Even know.
It's just nuts. It's nuts.
Oh man.
All right, so there's two scenarios here. Either they're punking everybody, and every time they say it a different way, and it's an inside joke between the two of them, or it is like the longest running Swedish controversy, and the entire family does no idea how to say it. And when they get together for the holidays, they spend the entire time arguing about how to say their own name. Those are the only two possibilities that I will allow.
Well, and unfortunately, speaking on behalf of Blackhawks broadcasters, we are behind the narrative because everyone across the NHL has has heard the Red Wings version because of Elmer.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, now it sounds like we're saying it differently and not doing our due diligence. And, so it's
all right.
It's crazy.
All right. Steven, our producer, great hustle. He's got the video ready. So let's give it a listen here and get judgment for ourselves. This is Arvid in the locker room talking to Chris about how to say his name.
Okay, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Söderblom. Söderblom.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
right.
what I hear. That's what I hear.
Do, fellas.
Yeah. No, that's it. That is Soderblom. That is the way. That is the closest way we can get to saying it correctly. Soderblom. All right. Readjust.
All right.
I know.
Readjust.
Yeah. And it's again funny. We're in Boston over the weekend, and Boston's radio team says Brad Marchand. Boston TV says Brad Marchand. So I think it's kind of like, maybe one of those situations where, it's almost like, how does based on where you grew up, how do you say your vowel sounds? I mean, do you shorten your A's and your O's, or do you
see? I was Chris, I was giving you the benefit of the doubt when I was hearing Soderblom. I was like, oh, well, he's from Wisconsin. So of course, like it's going to elongate that A sound. Yeah, that's what I figured was bleeding in there. But yeah, I mean, it's a classic blue dress with black or white dress with gold when you hear it or say it kind of situation.
Well,
Look,
and listen,
hearing it directly from him, that's what I'm gonna go with from now on. So,
not to get too off track here, but there was a player last year since traded where, like, I thought it was like I struggled to say his name the right way because of my Wisconsin accent. So Brandon Hagel, I like, for some reason I've got like a glitch in my head that made me always want to say it like Hagel. Like I would just shorten it, and like people would say, "Hey, you're like saying his name wrong," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" And it took me a while. I had to like train my ear to like.
Yeah.
So I do know that like I can say some things. The Wisconsin accent definitely comes out, but for this one, I think I've really tried to do my due diligence on this, and it's probably going to take a while before the entire NHL gets on the same page, but we can start one broadcaster at a time here.
We will do our best to get the word out.
Yeah, and I'm glad we have at least some closure on this. Soderblom, to me, that's what he said. And if you want to Chicago it, just add an S on the end. Soderblom's like the jewels.
Yeah, exactly.
Just add an S, and that's how you really endear yourself to Chicagoans.
I think everyone in the locker room just calls him Sadi or something like
Easy
that.
enough.
Yeah,
Easy.
That works.
Easy enough.
All right, Chris, we've taken up enough of your time with this stupidity. So thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it. And we'll enjoy the call on Wednesday.
Sounds good, fellas. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for letting me clear the air there. And we'll talk soon. Appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
That is Hawks play-by-play man, Chris Vosters. Great sport. Great dude. He literally did that on like 3 hours notice.
Yeah.
So that was terrific. And thanks to Steven for getting that done for us. That was outstanding. Hey, before we hit a break, we want to remind everybody we've got our new 81 legendary design out at CHGO Locker. If you've not picked it up, do it. This is a limited run print of the legendary 81 design. Honor the greatest free agent signing in Chicago sports history with the sweet design. Go to chgolocker.com to get yours. If you are a CHGO diehard, you get 20% off all merch at the CHGO Locker, including the legendary design. And if you've been on the fence about becoming a diehard, guess what? When you sign up, you get a free t-shirt. So maybe you'll choose the legendary design to be your free one. And you get a free shirt every year upon renewal. There it is on your screen.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely sweet design. As soon as it dropped, I ordered mine. And for us bigger fellows, it goes up to 5X. I know there have been some people who have been waiting to get shirts because they were only going up to 2X. These go up to 5X. So pick up the legendary design. There's a bunch of other really cool ones for every team in town. But remember, this one, the 81 legendary design, is a limited run. So jump on that and get them while supplies last, because once they're gone, they are gone.
These ones go up to 11.
Sorry about that. CHGOlocker.com. I gave you an awkward pause there, Mario. My bad.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, those I love those shirts. It's a tremendous design. Jeff, definitely jump on the opportunity to get that and to commemorate the great event that we saw at the UC last night. Hey, if you are into great deals, like becoming a diehard and saving on all the awesome merch that the CHGO Locker offers you, you also would like to, I would assume, save money on your energy bill. And ComEd has a great way of trying to do that for you. ComEd has their energy efficiency program, which is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities that they serve manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future. ComEd offers a wide array of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across their territory. Customers can inquire about how to upgrade outdated lighting to energy and money-saving efficient LED lights. Learn more about network lighting to operate your lights through your mobile device and track your facility's energy usage, and more. Incentives have recently increased for indoor, outdoor lighting and networked lighting controls, making those projects even more cost-effective than before. And right now, what you can do is go to comed.com/poweringbiz to start saving money and energy. To start a project, you can call them at 855-433-2700. You can also email them at businessee@comed.com or publicsectoree@comed.com.
And we know a lot of people took in the ceremonies last night because they used the Game Time app to get their tickets. It is the hottest new ticketing site, and it makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. Mario, we checked like Wednesday night. Weren't the tickets to go see the Hossa ceremony like $30 or something?
It was, something like in the mid-30s.
Yeah.
There's no wonder it was sold out.
Yep. If you've ever dreamed of sitting in a seat you've never thought you could, like the 50-yard line courtside behind home plate, floor seats at a concert, it is possible with the Game Time app. They have the biggest last-minute price drops, and they can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. You will not find a better deal this season on Blackhawks tickets. It's created by the fans, for the fans, and they guarantee the lowest price. So if you're on one of those other ticketing sites and you see something less expensive than it is on Game Time, reach out. Game Time will beat the deal. If you love CHGO, then you will love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events. I'm looking ahead here at the Game Time app. The day after Thanksgiving, a little more expensive.
Yeah, you can see it on the screen here.
The Black Friday game is always a big seller, but Winnipeg, 19. How about Connor McDavid in the Oilers for $16? What are you doing? How about Alexander Ovechkin on the 13th? $16. I'll see some of the legends of hockey who are going to be making their way through the United Center in the next few weeks here at the Game Time app. You saw it right there on your screen. We're not making these things up. Those deals are fantastic, and they only get better as you get closer to game time. So jump in on there. And here's a little something to keep an eye on. As we were talking last night, Mario, about, this could be the last sellout of the season. You might want to secure tickets to that last home game before the trade deadline. You never know if it's your last chance to see Patrick Kane and or Jonathan Toews in a Blackhawks uniform.
Not a bad idea.
So keep an eye on that date, and it's something you might want to keep in your hip pocket. Might be a cheaper ticket now before people realize, oh, hey, that might be something I want to see, something I want to go to. So keep that one in mind. All right, we've got about a half hour of the show left to go. We're going to get your Mailbag Monday questions. So, Steven, as soon as you've got one, pop it on the screen, and we will answer that question. And Charlie the Bacon Guy, my buddy, our buddy, kicks it off for us today via Twitter. He says, if Hjalmarsson's goal in Game 7 counts versus Detroit, does he get his number retired automatically? Certainly Ring of Honor, but in the rafters is different. That's a good question. And I found myself wondering last night if those 7, the guys that won all 3 are the ones in consideration to have their numbers retired.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely you can make a case for all 7 of those guys. At least, well, 1 for sure is already done. 3 others are locks in Kane, Taves, and Keith. You can make a very good case for Brent Seabrook. You can make a good case for Nicholas Hjalmarsson. Patrick Sharp is a stretch, but I think there are people that could definitely see why being retired, having number 10 be retired, could be a possibility. Those are the only 7 guys that were part of all 3 modern era cup runs for the Blackhawks. I mean, that's interesting, kind of tipping the scales of Seabrook's legacy and Hjalmarsson's legacy between, if his regulation goal in the final minute counts, they don't call that stupid double minor against Brandon Saad and whoever hit him. I think it was Abdelkader, one of the Red Wing chuds. But then that's Seabrook's like most iconic goal off the board. Like that's interesting. I not to say that you have to take away something from one guy to make another guy's case stronger, but I don't know. That's interesting because I look at it this way, and with Hossa being retired, at the same time, the Ottawa Senators announced that they're retiring Chris Neal's number 25, which is a game that's going to happen in Ottawa against the Blackhawks in February. Look, Chris Neal, I mean, he was a long time Sen, and he was a long time not great player. But because of what he means to Ottawa, that's why he's getting his number retired. And I said it, kind of tongue in cheek when that announcement came out. I said, oh, okay, well then the Blackhawks can retire all of these numbers. And there was like 38 numbers. If the Blackhawks went the route of who means a lot to the team and who the fan base would appreciate seeing getting that level of honor, you'd have a dozen guys at least having their numbers retired. And
that's what they need.
I don't want to say like, oh, it takes away the specialness of it. It doesn't. Having your number retired and being like, you were the guy that wore number 81, the only one, and no one else will do it. You were the guy that wore 19 last, and you were the best to wear it. No one else will do it. Like, that is a big honor for those guys. It doesn't matter if 5 numbers are in the rafters or 25 are in the rafters. That's a big honor. I just think at some point you kind of have to have a criteria for it. And winning 3 cups is a big criteria. And we talked about it. Those 7 guys, the pops that they got at the UC, and other guys too, not just those 7. Corey Crawford, anytime he shows up in a Blackhawks capacity, people lose their minds. They love it. Dave Bolland, who doesn't really come around all that often, but when he does, people love Dave Bolland in Chicago. They always will. 2 guys that were integral to 2 of the 3 cup runs, but also like in the discussion of like overall greatness, it's like, okay, you can kind of make a case for Crawford. Bolland, it's like he's a cult hero. So it's just like the Blackhawks, I think, have to have some standard of where they draw the line.
Yeah, the more we think about it, I think I'm stopping at Seabrook. Taves, Kane, Keith, Seabrook, Hossa.
And would you do Seabrook and Chelios together?
I think you have to, because I think you could certainly make the argument that Chris Chelios was a better player than Brent Seabrook. He didn't have the accomplishments here, but he was a longtime captain. He's local. He's back with the organization. It makes perfect sense. And then before you can talk about Sharp or Hjalmarsson, you need to revisit a couple guys. You need to revisit Larmer. You need to revisit Roenick. Both of those ships seem to have sailed. I don't know.
Doug Wilson.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who, they didn't win cups here, but they were hugely, hugely important to this franchise. Look, people my age, dudes my age, Roenick is their guy. Like, he is the reason they're Hawks fans. And I'm pointing the thumb at myself. That's the guy that got the hooks in me, right? Like, holy cow, I want to watch that guy every time he's on the ice, and he's still, like, when I play Ultimate Team in NHL games, he's the first guy I try to get still to this day, because it's my guy. Like, Roenick's my guy. He will always be my guy, despite some of the disappointments over the years, off the ice. But I don't care. He was a phenomenal hockey player, and I'm playing a hockey video game. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, all right, let's get to the next one, because I know we got a lot. We might have to carry some of these over till tomorrow. By the way, reminder, we start at 2 p.m. tomorrow, and Bernie Nichols will be our guest on tomorrow's show. So don't miss that, but an early start time of 2 p.m. Zach says, favorite Hossa memory that isn't the game-winning goal against Nashville in Game 5.
I got an easy one, and I think it's in the 13 months that I have been a dad, I have changed as a person. So my moment is when Hossa had I believe it was his 1,000th game or 1,000th point. I can't exactly remember. But when he was honored by the Blackhawks and had his family with him, and had his daughter with him, and she honked his nose. That's just like, I don't know. That's just like one of those things where it's just like, we can talk for hours upon hours about all his on ice highlights, and we tried not to Chris Farley it when he was in studio, and doing those things. But that moment, that's just like one of those clips that it's just like, you know what, like, there have been times like I've been holding my daughter, like getting her lunch together or something like that, and she'll just like start grabbing my ear, and like she's got these like tiny dagger fingernails, like little baby daggers. And I'm like, oh, hey. And then I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, you're just playing. Like, it's just one of those fun moments.
That was everyone, we always talk about Hossa like he's this robot, right? Like this machine, and he's unemotional. And he even told us, like, I never cry. I'm just level. I'm just this guy. That was really the first like time we got to see the real human side of Hossa, is when his daughter grabbed his nose and he like kind of laughed. That was a really cool moment. My favorite, and he talked about this in his book, is when the Hawks were playing Detroit. Pavel Datsyuk stole the puck from him, and then Hossa put on the brakes, turned around, and took the puck back from Pavel Datsyuk. It was two of the best defensive forwards in the game going at it. And if you read the book, he tells a story of when he was in Detroit, him and Datsyuk would play this game after every practice where they would try to steal the puck from each other. And he said he looked forward to it. It was his favorite part of practice, was playing this one-on-one game with Pavel Datsyuk. He took it with him to Chicago. It later evolved into like a team game, like last man standing sort of a thing. But I thought that was something that only like a few Hawks weirdos like me had noticed in the game. And Hossa wrote about that moment in his book, which I thought was really, really cool. And I think it just... He scored so many goals and had so many big moments for the Hawks, but that was just that subtle little thing of, oh, you just took the puck from me? I am Marián effing Hossa, and I'm going to come and show you that you don't do that to me, and I'm going to come and get it back. It was just awesome. Like, just that competitiveness that him and Datsyuk had with each other. And it's weird. Like, that book has given me this weird affection for those Red Wings. It's very, very strange, and it's a very weird feeling. Yeah. But Hossa says, I'm not the player I was without that year in Detroit. So thank you to the Detroit Red Wings for making Marián Hossa a more complete player. It's unreal, but really, really cool. All right, let's get another one in here. This one's from Kayla. She says, what do you think their plans are for Caleb Jones? Would they move him to Rockford and bring another Rockford player up? This was a big topic on our postgame show last night, and I think we need to caution ourselves from scapegoating Caleb Jones from everything. With Seth Jones out and the Hawks really having no other offensive options, Caleb Jones is in a position he's not fit to be in, but they don't have a ton of other options. And they're down constantly. They need to play catch up in games. So they're also playing a little more risky, trying to get back into games, and mistakes are going to happen. I think Caleb Jones is an NHL player on this roster. I don't even think does he have a two-way deal? I'm not even sure about that, to be honest. Yeah. So
no.
I think you'll see him in and out of the lineup like he's been. He's your seventh defenseman. when Seth Jones comes back, that's going to be the interesting thing is who is the more commonly sat defenseman? Is it Roos? Is it Mitchell? Is it Caleb? I think that remains to be seen.
Well, when Seth comes back, because Tyler Johnson's going to come back too pretty soon here, maybe as soon as this week. That when Seth and Tyler are back, that's 24 players. That's over the limit of 23. So when Tyler comes back, they'll be at 23. Someone might have to go down, or they'll stay at 23. But then once Seth is back, which will happen within the next 10 to 14 days, from all accounts from Luke Richardson, someone will have to be going down. It's more likely that's going to be a defenseman. It's not going to be Caleb Jones. They are, I think part of the reason Philip Roos is here is because there's a clause in his contract that says if he's sent to the NHL, he could go back to his club in Sweden.
AHL.
AHL. Yeah. He could go back to his club in Sweden. I think if the club calls him back, and then he would have to accept it. But his goal is to be in the NHL. But I think that's probably playing a factor in the reason why he's in the NHL and staying with the Blackhawks right now. Because if he was freely able to go to the Ice Hogs, I think it would better serve him to be in the AHL.
Yeah.
But he's with the Blackhawks, and Ian Mitchell just got here. He might be the one that goes down because
I want to see more of it. I kind of want him to play until Seth is back and just see, just see what he can do with an extended look. Let him get comfortable. Let him get some chemistry going. I hope like the last 2 games aren't all we see from him. I really hope not. I want to see more from Mitchell before I'm ready to completely write him off. All right, let's get to the next one here. Steven, this one's from Brad. Which prospects currently in the Hawks system are the most important to the Hawks rebuild? Essentially, which guys have to hit? It's a really good question. I would say
all of them.
All of them would be wonderful. The top and most important prospect in the organization right now is Kevin Korchinski. He looks like a potential 1A puck-moving, solid defending, speed defenseman. I don't want to say Roman Josi, but I get strong Roman Josi vibes from him when I watch him play. I know that's huge praise, and those are big shoes to fill. But the comps are there when you look at the body type and the puck movement and all those things. I think Nazar is on that list too, and I think Lucas Reichel is as well. I don't know if Reichel is going to be a franchise guy, but if he can be your number 2 center for the next 8 to 10 years, that's really solid, and you'll take that. And I think that's something you could see. If Reichel develops the way I think they plan on him developing, I think that's a semi-realistic outcome for him. Is really good number 2 center.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I put Korchinski at the top of the list as well. They haven't had a guy that looks like him as a defenseman in their system for a very long time as a prospect. So I think if he pans out to hit the ceiling that a lot of people expect him to, he himself could do a lot to change the direction of the franchise once he gets to that preparedness for the NHL. I'll also throw in, it wouldn't hurt if Drew Comezzo is a legit NHL starter for a good chunk of time. That would do a lot for this Blackhawks team because, look, Söderblom looks like he's a legit NHL player.
Good job.
Thank you. And as he develops, maybe he could be that guy that is like down the road. Could it be a 1A, 1B where they're both like, yeah, either guy who plays, we're good with it. Like if that's the case, that's great because outside of those two, I know Dominic Bassi has been having a really good NCAA season this year too, but he's not really turning many heads in the long run. They don't really have a franchise goalie. So if Comezzo and Söderblom can be kind of 1A, 1B starters, that would be really beneficial for the team.
Agreed. Hockey fans, light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. And looking at DraftKings right now, not a ton that's grabbing me, but St. Louis, it's Anaheim at St. Louis tonight. The Blues have been picking things up here. The Blues -1.5 is +125. I think that they can beat the Ducks by more than a goal. So I will take that. The Blues +125 at -1.5. That's my wager for the evening. Ride with me, fade me, whatever you want to do. Either way, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code CHGO. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for more details.
And if you're looking to light it up on the DraftKings app, you might need a little shade from that bright phone screen as you're lighting up all those bets. You should get yourself a pair of Shady Rays, some of the best sunglasses out there on the market. Shady Rays never understood why sunglasses had to be so expensive, so they set out to change that. And you don't have to break the bank to get quality sunglasses because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered. They are premium polarized shades featuring some of the best world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and the greatest styles catered to everyone and every lifestyle. The best part about Shady Rays is they have the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. If you lose or break your shades on day one, they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked, no charge. They are going to replace it. If you drop them in the lake this summer like I did and you need to replace them, Shady Rays will do it for you. Did you drop them off of the 300 level balcony as you were wiping away tears last night at the Marián Hossa event? They will replace them. With that strong of a protection program, they still manage to make quality that you cannot deny. Shady Rays customers seem to agree with that kind of quality as they have over 200,000 5-star reviews. And they have one of the best protection programs and one of the best giving back programs of any company out there. Shady Rays, with every purchase, provides 10 meals to fight hunger in America and have donated over 20 million meals to date. So if you're looking for something good to do this year, this holiday season, where giving is always on people's minds, you want to get someone a pair of Shady Rays, want to get yourself a pair of Shady Rays, you can do that, and you can help out for a great cause. And exclusively to our listeners, Shady Rays is running their deepest deal of the season. When you use the promo code CHGO at shadyrays.com, you can get 50% off of 2 or more pairs. I didn't go to school for math, but I know that is buy one, get one free. That means 2 pairs of Shady Rays for as low as $54. Again, that's using the promo code CHGO at shadyrays.com.
All right, let's try to get a couple more questions in here before we wrap up. Feel free to throw it up on the screen there, Steven, and we'll get to it. This is from Walter's Ringer. He says, is it a stretch to say that Ian Mitchell can be the next few Blackhawks team's version of Steve McCarthy? And if so, is that a disappointment for Mitchell? Yes, I think if Ian Mitchell's a complete bust, that yes, that would be disappointing for Ian Mitchell. I think it's a little soon to call him Steve McCarthy. I also think he's in much better hands than Steve McCarthy was in when he came into the NHL. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening. They're like, who the frick is Steve McCarthy? And with good reason. He was supposed to be the Hawks' next big offensive defenseman right around like the Tuomo Ruutu era, like right before Kanan Taves. And it just never panned out for him.
Yeah.
I think Steve McCarthy would have fared better in this NHL than he did back then. It was a little more clutchy grabby back when he entered the league. And I don't know. I just think the Hawks were never great at developing back then. So I think Ian Mitchell has probably already surpassed Steve McCarthy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you would hope that a second round draft pick and someone who is on that cusp of the NHL at this stage in their career can pan out a little bit better than McCarthy did. Yeah,
I'm trying to see. So McCarthy actually he played a lot more than I thought he did. Once he left Chicago, played 51 games in Vancouver, 16 with Atlanta, 46 in Atlanta, and then 55 in Atlanta. So 302 NHL games, 55 points. So a little bit longer of a career than I thought, but just never really broke through to be the guy everybody thought he was going to be. Yeah. He was a 23rd overall pick in 1999 So yeah, no, I don't. I hope not for Ian Mitchell's sake.
Yeah, I
All right,
hope
let's
not.
do one more before we kill this one. And remember, 2:00 tomorrow, Bernie Nichols, and maybe we'll use the rest of the show tomorrow, barring some huge news, to answer the rest of the questions that didn't get answered. Chucko Mucko, has CHGO All City seriously evaluated an alternate up-to-the-minute social media device if Twitter goes the way of the dodo? Boy, I'm trying to figure out this Mastodon.
I gave up.
And I joined something today called Post that I'm just kind of joining things as people suggest them in case I have to jump to it real quick.
Yeah.
So my name's not taken, but Mastodon is confusing as hell.
It's so confusing. It is too I'm trying to be not offensive with what I'm going to say. It is too internet techie for me to understand. Like, I am not like the server message board. Like, that's not how my brain works. That's not my that's not my bag, baby, as someone from the 90s would say. Right. Yeah. If Twitter goes down, I'm just gonna open my bedroom window and just shout my thoughts out the window. That's just as good as what I'm doing now.
You're an idiot, Tirabassi. Someone screaming back at you. Yeah.
The Blackhawks have recalled Ian Mitchell.
Thank you.
My neighbor's gonna hate me.
So Mastodon is decentralized, which means like Twitter is centralized because it's everything in one feed. Yeah, you can make lists and little groups and stuff, but everything is one feed. Whereas Mastodon, there's like a gaming Mastodon and there's a news Mastodon.
It's like
there's
going
no
into
place
like
where I can get it all.
It's like going into like chat rooms and stuff almost.
Yes.
From the old AOL days. Like, I don't know. That's and I think for what we in the sports media world have used Twitter for, I don't think Mastodon is the right way to go unless there's like a dedicated like sports umbrella thread or whatever. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think Twitter can go anywhere. I thought so earlier this week, but now I'm kind of like, It's just,
isn't that the way that some of those things go?
Boy, that's it. He's got this new toy and he can't just let it be. You know, because it's fine. I mean, it's not fine. There's definitely
there's many things wrong, but
it's at least usable, and I know what I'm doing on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll
see.
That's
above our pay rate.
Not yet.
Not yet.
If you are a CHGO diehard, you have access to our Discord. And you can get in touch with us very easily. We are active on the Blackhawks channel. If you just add us, we'll get those notifications. So we're easy to find on Discord. So go to allchgo.com and become a diehard. There you go. How about that?
Good plan.
All right, let's wrap it up. Reminder, one last time. We're back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central Time. Our guest will be Bernie Nichols. He's got a book out. I've been reading it today. He's got some Daryl Sutter stories in there already that are delightful. So it's going to be a lot of fun talking to Bernie. And what else? Oh, make sure you like the YouTube video. Make sure you're subscribed where you get your podcasts. And make sure, once again, to go check out and purchase that legendary 81 design at chgolocker.com. And we really, really want you to become a CHGO diehard. And if you ever have any questions on this stuff, hit us up on Twitter. We're easy to find. We can answer all your questions. Very happy to help with. Yeah, exactly. Very happy to help with any of this stuff. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up. Greg's back tomorrow, and we'll get to Bernie Nichols and the rest of your questions on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.